Hey guys, welcome back to the Wellham's World YouTube channel, and today we are looking at another tier list, another Black Ops 6 related tier list. Last week we looked at all of the maps since the release of what is penciled in or scheduled to be the final DLC of Black Ops 6 in Reckoning. So today we are looking at every single special and elite enemy or zombie throughout each of the maps. There are 8 in total. I'm not including boss fights in this, and I'm not including HVTs, the high value targets, such as the ones that you spawn in on the Easter egg for Liberty Falls, or in Reckoning where you get the Forsaken into an Uber Klaus. Not classing them at this moment in time. Would potentially do one if it included them. Maybe I'd add them into the boss fight one. Or if I did an Easter egg one, I'll do every Easter egg ranked or every boss fight ranked. But yeah, we've got 8 to look at today, should I say. We've got the Mangler, Abomination, Amalgam, Doppelgast, Shock Mimic, Elder Disciple, Uber Klaus Core, and the Uber Klaus itself. Could also potentially do one for special round enemies, so your pests and your vermin, and your toxic zombies, things like that. I could do one for that as well potentially, if this gets if people like what they're seeing, then I could do more. So the tiers that we have on the side, they're kind of not your traditional tier list tiers. I'm doing it kind of based on the challenge of them, or how difficult or annoying they are. So top one, GG easy, is like when they spawn in, it's just absolutely no issues whatsoever. Easy but annoying. There is one specifically that this is for. Could potentially do 2. Quite a challenge. Why are there so many of them? Because there's 2 on here that I can look at, special zombies specifically, and think, why the fuck do they spawn in so much? Especially pre-patch. They did a patch after Citadel was released, a little while after Citadel was released, just before the Tomb, which lowered the spawn rates of specials after certain rounds. But I'm sure you can already imagine what special enemies I am thinking about when I've written that one. And also leave me alone, because there are also 2 on here that can just fuck right off, because they're just bastards. I'll tell you what, we'll go left to right pretty much. Mangler. Why there's so many of them? Manglers appeared in the first 2 maps, Liberty Falls and Terminus. They're not too difficult. They could quite easily go in GG easy, especially if you've got a melee weapon with melee macchiato, or if you've got Napalm Burst. I think it's called Napalm Burst. I don't know if that's the right name, because it's changed name since Black Ops 3. It's been a different name in every single Black Ops game, and I always forget. But yeah, we've got the Mangler. Like I said, not a difficult opponent, but especially pre-patch, when you get to past round 25, you get a few spawn in, but then once 30 onwards, it's just fucking relentless. And it still is quite relentless. You get maybe 5 or 6 a round after, probably around 32. You get 5 or 6 around, so it is pretty nuts. So that's why he goes in there, and I think, why is the spawn rate so high? It would be the same thing if I did a tier list based on the vermin rounds. The vermin round from Liberty Falls. Why are there so many fuckers? On Citadel, my god, because it's pest and vermin. Anyway, I'm getting off topic there. But hey ho. Abomination. I'm going to put in quite a challenge. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, the Abomination has 3 heads, similar to the Black Ops 3 Magua. You can do damage to it while the mouth is shut. However, obviously, to kill it, you can shoot all 3 heads and it dies. There are ways to kill it quicker. You can throw a frag grenade or a Semtex into the mouth to blow it up immediately. You can hit Void Rift, Shadow Rift on it if you've got big game, and that will do some damage. It did, before they patched Shadow Rift, it did pretty much the same with the Amalgam. It did one-shot them, borderline. or if you're just quite accurate, if you've got a sniper, you can one-shot each head. So there are ways to kill it, but obviously it just depends on if the heads are open, and also it's got that ranged attack, which I do think does a decent chunk of damage. It slows you down, stuns you, and they also charge at you, and if whatever they hit first, they do a little stun effect. So if you get caught in that, it can be annoying. And they do teleport from place to place, so you could be, if you're on co-op, you could be getting chased around by it and it could spawn on someone else, and if they don't know and you don't realise, then it can be a bit of a ball ache. So that's why it's going into quite a challenge, because I wouldn't say it's easy by any chance, but also it's not in this category, leave me alone, which the amalgam is the issue I have with the amalgam is Citadel Daymore, if you get the electric enchantment, I think that's what it's called. So basically, if you get the electric sword and then do the next step of the Easter egg to get the incantation, that's the one. Electric incantation. So the little scroll you get when you put the electrified Pegasus hoof by the treasure box. It does one-shot amalgams if you punch them with it. So that is a way to deal with them in Citadel. And then they are weak to, I believe, electric and void. Like I said, Shadow Rift used to do loads of damage. It now doesn't. Does barely any, I would say. And the tomb, if you're on the tomb, you can use the ice staff with the charge shot. If it's upgraded, does actually help out massively. Because while they're also frozen, they can't heal off other zombies. But that's another issue with these. They're quick, they grab you, they can pull you into a crowd, they're bullet sponges, and they can fucking heal themselves. So it's like a wombo combo of bullshit. And if you get caught in, if you get dragged into one, and there's a crowd of zombies around you, and you don't have frenzied guard or anything like that up, then you're kind of fucked. So that's why they go in Leave Me Alone, because they can piss off. They are quite quick as well, and they can jump up ledges, all sorts of bits and bobs that just make them just an absolute ball ache to deal with. And that's probably why I would never really go back and play Terminus if I was just to hop on for a game for like a 31 exfil. Would never choose Terminus because there's just not an easy way to deal with amalgams in that. I would choose either usually Liberty Falls or maybe the new map, but because Liberty Falls is just a quick map to get through. But I would maybe choose the Tomb or something as well, just because if there is an amalgam, it'd be easy to deal with. So next, we'll move on to Doppelgast. They were introduced in Citadel Daymore. The way you unlock the Pack-a-Punch is you open up the crate, the Doppelgast pops out, you kill it, and you put that into the crate, and the Pack-a-Punch spawns. It then was added into the Tomb, technically it can appear in any map that the post Citadel, because that's where you get pests that can turn zombies into Doppelgasts. It is going to go into why are there so many of them. For that reason, because pests can turn regular zombies. Oh, sorry, should I say parasites? They're called parasites. They can turn regular zombies into Doppelgasts, which they can do if you leave them alone. It's usually after like around 15 or so. It's basically whenever they start spawning in naturally. Whenever Doppelgasts would spawn in naturally, so after like around 12 or so, that's when the parasites can spawn them. The one I'm specifically thinking of is Citadel, because they are the only special in there, so they spawn naturally and you can get them, so you can get like 8 or 9 around, which is really good for camo grinding, I will say. And they're also not that difficult because Lightmend absolutely rinses them, but they are quite quick. They have that ranged sort of attack where they shoot and it like disorientates you, and they also do that upon death. They like do sort of a martyrdom explosion. You can quite easily avoid them, so if there wasn't this tier of why there's so many of them, it would probably go in GG easy or easy but annoying, maybe because of the sheer volume of them. But I specifically wanted this one in here for the Mangler and the Doppelgast. And like I said, it's a similar thing with the Mangler where pre-patch, around 30 onwards, there were just so many of them. But they did kind of change that after the fact. Shock Mimic, easy but annoying. The reason why they're easy but annoying is because they die super quick. They're only on the tomb as well, so you can avoid them. However, the static effect that it has on the screen when it's in its like object form is very annoying. It has a grab attack, so on the tomb you've got two enemies. You've got the Amalgam and the Shock Mimic that both have a grab attack that can pull you in to a crowd, which is very annoying. And if you've got one where you've been pulled in by a Shock Mimic and there's an Amalgam there as well, and that pulls you in as well, and you just get stuck, it is frustrating. But like I said, they are very easy to kill. They're also very easy to spot, and I kind of wish they weren't. So when they spawn in, you hear the audio for the spawn in, you get the static, so you know it's nearby, but also it spawns in as objects that wouldn't naturally drop onto the floor. So for example, Aether Tools, Ethereum Crystals, and ammo mods are like the really popular ones. It's like the amount of times I've seen a brain rot on the floor and thought, well, that's obviously a fucking mimic. I would like for them to be disguised sort of as salvage or as tactical equipment or lethal equipment. So there is a bit of a, and I wish the static wasn't there, because it was like, oh bloody hell, there's a mimic there kind of thing. Similar in a way, they almost got it on Firebase C on Cold War, because it could spawn as certain things. But the issue with it on Firebase, it could spawn as salvage and it could spawn as lethals. But the issue is as well, it could also spawn as score streaks, which you can only craft. And they would spawn in at the beginning of the round with like a little lightning flash. So you would know that it's a mimic immediately, and they could spawn in areas that you've not purchased up. So you could look through a gate and see the mimic spawn, but the items that it could spawn as were better. And that's why I just think it's annoying, because you go out of your way. Say for example you're in the Aether room where you go in to upgrade the ice stuff and things like that. No matter where the mimic spawns in that area, it'll always have static on your screen. It's like the range is so big that there'll always be static on your screen because you're in the same room as it the whole time. So you're actually going out of your way, running around, trying to spawn in the mimic to get rid of the static look. But it is an easy opponent, hence why it's there. Elder Disciple next. I'm going to put it in the same tier as quite a challenge. Elder Disciples are from, well, technically two maps now with Reckoning, but it started in Shattered Vale, my favourite map of the game. It's an elite enemy. It spawns occasionally. It spawns, I think the first one is 16, and then 20, and then it's every like sort of 3 to 4 rounds after that. There are no special enemies in this map specifically. However, the Elder Disciple can spawn in enemies such as vermin, and then after a while those vermin will turn into Doppelgast, and if you don't kill the Doppelgast they'll turn into amalgams and so on and so forth. However, if you wanted to focus on the Elder Disciple and kill it, all of the things that it has spawned in disintegrate. So you can just focus down on the Elder Disciple, but it is quite bullet spongy, and it's got like a screech attack that stuns you as well, which I've noticed is a theme for a lot of these special and elite enemies in Black Ops 6, is there's some form of stun attack that they do, which I'm not really that opposed to. They need something to make them more challenging, because if you get shot by a Mangler's arm cannon, it does the same effect, and it will knock you back. Doppelgast, Abomination, Elder Disciple, Uberklaus, they can all stun you. The Shock Mimic and the Amalgam can drag you in, that kind of thing. So yeah, I would say that's it is a challenge. It's not an easy opponent, but if you have sort of a Ray Gun Mark II, it's pretty straightforward. But if you don't and you want to use some of the other weapons, you'll need, like, obviously, I'm pretty sure it's Light Mend as well that it's weak to, but it will take a while to kill it. So we've got Uberklaus Core, which I don't know if that's a specific name, but obviously when you destroy the Uberklaus, it spawns the Uberklaus core, which is the special, and the Uberklaus itself is the elite. These are from Reckoning. I was tempted to put Uberklaus core in easy but annoying, because the whole fact that it spawns a second enemy is very annoying. However, I've never had a single issue with the actual Uberklaus core. I don't know if it's something that other people have had an issue with. It just spawns in and you just decimate it. There's not much more to it. I don't really know what to say about it, because I don't even really know what attacks it does, because I've managed to kill it before it really causes me any issues. And the Uberklaus can get in and leave me alone, because fuck me, is this thing annoying. So it's basically like the stand-in for a Panzer. However, obviously, the whole lore behind it, I suppose, is that Janus Towers, the Janus Corporation, have these Klaus robots that they've created in their company, and then they've basically put one into a mech suit. So it's rather than it being a zombie in a mech suit, it's a Klaus in a mech suit. So there's not really much difference in that sense. It has an electrical shield that it can put up, so you have to destroy the shoulder pads specifically, but that can be really awkward to hit depending on the weapon you have, and depending on how many zombies you've got with you, things like that. And if you've got Doppelgast starting to spawn in, or there are other sort of Klaus drones on the special rounds, things like that, it can be an absolute ball ache. But the other thing as well is melee is super strong, and it's electric ranged attack that it shoots basically like I can't remember, I think it might be the one from Horizon Drac, shot like little electrical fuse things that stun you. It's similar to that, but it does health damage to you. Even if you've got shields, even if you've got Frenzied Guard, that electrical shot still does damage to you. And even with shooting off the shoulder pads, it's still an absolute bastard of a bullet sponge. And it also is weak to two different things depending on whether the shield is up or not. So if you only have one ammo mod, you have to think about, do you want the ammo mod for when the shield is up, or do you want the ammo mod for when the shield is down? So it is quite difficult to deal with. But to be fair, actually, I would say I'd rather deal with an Amalgam than an Uberklaus, because an Amalgam is annoying, but it's just a bullet sponge. You just basically spam into it, whereas it doesn't really have much of a ranged attack. The grab is still got there's some limitations to the range, but the Uberklaus's electrical attack has just got 99% accuracy. It's an absolute joke. So it's an absolute bastard to deal with in the new map. But yeah, that's it for this. If I've missed any, I apologise. Let me know if I have. I'm certain that I haven't, because obviously you've got the Amalgam and Mangler, we're in Terminus. The Mangler and Abomination, we're in Liberty Falls. Amalgam and Doppelgast, we're in Citadel des Morts. Then you had the Tomb, which was Shock Mimic, Doppelgast, and Amalgam. Shattered Veil, which was literally just the Elder Disciple. And the Reckoning one, which is Uberklaus Core and Uberklaus. Like I said, I'm not going to do boss fights included in these. Once I've finished the Reckoning Easter egg, because I still haven't done that yet, and I'll do like an Easter egg ranked, or maybe a boss fight ranked. We'll do it something similar, so it's similar to sort of ranking the maps. But for now, this is what I've gone with. Like I said, it's not a traditional sort of ranking. I just wanted to talk about each one a little bit, but I would say that this is the easiest to use Uberklaus Core out of all the specials as well. Because if you think about it, there's 4 elites and 4 specials. So I would probably say that out of all of the elites, the easiest one to deal with is probably the Abomination, because even when it's doing its laser attack, you can dodge it quite easily, and it pans quite slowly, and you can shoot the heads while it's doing that attack. So these two, I would probably say, whilst they're quite a challenge, they are the easiest of the elites. The Amalgam and Uberklaus can just fuck off as far as I'm concerned. I'm not interested. They do my absolute nutting, especially when I was trying to do the Tomb Easter egg, and I kept dying in a boss fight, and it was always sort of fucking Amalgam when that part came up. And as for the specials, they're all relatively easy to deal with. Light Mend for the Doppelgast and Mangler Napalm Burst. It's just the sheer volume of them you get. The Mangler's ranged attack, the arm cannon, is also very accurate. And if you get caught in the Doppelgast's attack, like its burst attack thing that it does when it's nearby you, and you get stunned, it can be a nightmare, especially if you've got a few Doppelgasts out and you're dealing with the Doppelgast and the crowd of zombies, and there's one behind you that's come quite quickly and you've not quite realised, and it gets you before you realise. That is quite dangerous. And these two are just pretty straightforward as well. But yeah, that's my list. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments if there are any other Black Ops 6 topics you want to talk about. I might do a sort of slightly long form video just specifically talking about Black Ops 6 zombies in general, because I think I was talking about it in my maps list, where I did every single Black Ops Zombies ranked. I did a tier list a while ago before this game came out, and I was saying where would I place it on that tier list, and it would probably be quite high. I'd have to look back at how I ranked everything in the last tier list. I don't think I'll do a new tier list for it because I'm only adding Black Ops 6, but I might do a video talking about Black Ops 6, the maps, the reactions by the fans, things like that, the way the story's going, where it's come from, the implications for Black Ops 7, which I'm assuming we're going to get some form of trailer about in the near future. Just because Zombies is probably one of the game's modes, specifically with Call of Duty, but also in general, alongside things like Pokemon, that I play regularly and I'll get every single one. So I do like talking about it. There's a lot of topics you can talk about. I've still not done any tier lists or spoken about like the weapon mods and things like that. So I'll be quite interested to do that. So let me know if there's any topics specifically you want me to speak about, and I'll do it. But thanks for watching. Take care, everybody, and goodbye.